Hey y'all, welcome back to Homestead. Look at these logs behind me. Guys, it got to the low 30s last night. We would have had a frost here in Alabama, but the wind was blowing so bad that we didn't have a frost. Tonight we may. Wind still picked up, but it's just a stay inside type of day, and that's what I'm doing. So, let's get down to brass tacks. Are you prepared for empty shelves? Now, guys, I see this video floating around all the time, or this title. I've never watched any. Empty shelves, food shortages, prepare now. Let me give you two real-life examples about empty shelves that I have lived through and see how you can change what you're doing or see if you can prepare better, okay? That's all I talk about with this stuff is real-life examples on how to run your household better and how to prep, okay? Anybody can be a prepper. I'm one. Many people are. You do not have to have certain equipment to be a prepper. You don't have to have a certain supply of things. You just have to have a lot of just good old-fashioned common knowledge, okay? So the two things that happened to me where I saw empty shelves has been within the past several years. The first one was Hurricane Zeta. If you've been on my channel before and you've watched my prepping videos, you know that I talk about this continuously because that's what led me down the prepping journey. Terrible hurricane. The eye actually hit within a mile of where I live, okay? And I live pretty good inland here in Alabama, but the winds were so strong. We had wind damage. Took out trees, took out power lines. We were without power for 8 days. 8 days. Now, people in the nearest town to us got it quicker, but not much quicker than we did. It was mass damage. We had no hot water. We have a hot water heater. We had no way to cook. I have an electric stove. We had nothing. That was the first thing that I noticed the stores had empty shelves. The second thing was the pandemic. So let me talk about both a little bit. During the hurricane, when I went to the stores, when I was able to get out of the drive and physically make it to Walmart, the shelves were empty. They had to throw out all of their refrigerated stuff because they didn't have any refrigeration. The ready, set, go meals like ramen noodles were gone. There were 1 pack of ramen noodles the day that I went to Walmart. So then I turn around and I go to Piggly Wiggly. Same thing. Turn around, go to Dollar General. They're closed. So, you know, what were we going to do? Thank goodness fast food places were open because I didn't have any food in the house. I never kept food. I only bought week-to-week groceries. That was terrible. And when you have to live on takeout for 8 straight days, 3 meals a day or 2 or whatever, that's tough, okay? And we don't live in town. We have to drive a good ways to go get this stuff. So that was even worse, okay? Secondly, the pandemic. Guys, everybody got in the toilet paper craze. You know all this. They bought up the toilet paper. That I could care less about. I'm a country girl. I'm used to people with an outhouse and a Sears catalog. I mean, really, that does not matter to me. What matters is food. I'll never forget when things picked up and people started talking about, hey, it's going to get bad here. Stuff's going to go off the shelves. This is when it first happened. I stopped at Dollar General on my way home from work one afternoon, and the shelves were pretty much empty where all the canned goods were. There were a couple of things of SpaghettiOs, and I went to the refrigerated section. All the frozen meals were gone. There were a pack of Rally's fries, and I bought them. I've never even had them in my life. They were good, but I ate them a year later. I got caught up in panic buying. At that point, I did have food, or better than I was during the hurricane. So, what have I changed since then? And why does that matter? Well, first of all, the reason it matters is because this can happen again. It does not have to be a natural disaster of severe magnitude or anything like that to affect you as far as empty shelves at your stores. First of all, guys, just like sitting here in front of these logs, it's wintertime. It was fall. It's coming up wintertime. We've got cold weather. This was the coldest Halloween in many, many years on record. And guys, I know for one thing, down here in the South, if there's a risk of snow, people go crazy. People go crazy. They go out and buy milk and bread if you live in Alabama. It won't be on the shelf. If they predict 1/4 of an inch of snow, people will go out and do it. I've done it. I mean, everybody I know does it. People don't even drink milk and go out and buy milk. It's a tradition like making hot chocolate at Christmas. I mean, really, that's what people do down here. But if there's any inclement weather, people cannot drive down here in the South. Now, up north and out west, y'all are probably a whole lot better off than we are, but we can't drive. Things on the shelves don't get restocked as quickly if there's inclement winter weather. You have to think about truck drivers. It can affect commerce. Anywhere in the U.S., any kind of huge winter storm can affect commerce. Now, y'all are more equipped with it if you're watching me in other places, I'm sure, if you're accustomed to winter weather, but we are not. It may take us longer to get stuff back on the shelves. You have to prepare for things like that. Second of all, think about the supply chain. Most of what we have on the shelf at any grocery store, I'm going to say a lot of it is probably imported. If anything happens around the world where we import things, you might have a shortage. So you have to take that into consideration. And guys, the things that I've changed is just basic stuff. The one thing I started basic, I say it over and over. What have I done to prepare for this? I started growing my own food. I wanted to. I enjoyed it. I like it. I learned along the way. You need to grow your own food instead of only depending on processed food. Learn to grow your own food. Even a small amount is better than none, okay? That's the first thing. Second of all, you need to learn how to preserve your own food, whether you freeze it, can it, dry it, whatever. You need to learn how to do that. That way you're putting your food up on the shelf to use at a later date. Thirdly, when I start getting low on something, now we buy processed food. I buy stuff, a good bit. Which I will say, growing my own food, I've lowered my bills. I'm not going to the grocery store as much, but I do still buy stuff. If I start getting low on something like flour, I'm going to go on and pick it up. I'm not going to wait till I get bone dry to go and replace whatever I need. That is a huge thing. Never be like I was and run out of groceries and then just say, well, tomorrow I'll go and get them. Don't do that. You don't know what tomorrow holds. You don't know what may happen. You have no clue. And that's what I got caught up in the hurricane. I think I was going to get groceries like the next day. It was much worse than people initially thought for this area. Sometimes you just never know. And they certainly didn't know. Neither did we. So I've learned to keep things on the shelf. I've learned how to put my own food on the shelf. And I've learned how to grow my own food to put it on the shelf. Guys, these are simple habits you can get in to prepare for empty shelves at the store. You also need to have equipment around the house that will help you prepare this food. Do you have a way to cook without electricity? That is something we are working on, okay? Do you have another option? Do you have a manual can opener? You can sit here and open these cans if you so choose, any method you choose. Some I wouldn't advise, but you could do it. But it's not optimal if you could go pick up a $1 can opener. You see what I'm saying? Make sure you have one. I didn't have one with no electricity. So when I did have canned food, I couldn't even open it. Things like that, little things like that. I've talked before about instant coffee. Have instant coffee on the shelf. Think of things that you can put back that does not require electricity to cook, whatever. That is a good thing to have. So I've changed up how I keep my pantry. And guys, you may have to cook meals that require less ingredients, just like Grandma and Grandpa did. You may have to have recipes that require very little to put a meal on the shelf or a meal on the table. It does not take 500 ingredients to make a good meal. And usually, they're more expensive anyways to do something like that. Also, if you go to the store, my local Dollar General has had trouble lately with sugar. They've not had sugar on the shelf in weeks. I asked them the other day, I said, what's going on? Why can y'all not get sugar? They said, well, the problem is once we do get it in, see, the supply chain is still not right in my area. They said as soon as we get it in, people buy it up because we've been without it so long. So then we're out again. So what you can do, the last time I was in Dollar General, I said, well, what can I do? What can I do? I've got to have the sugar. I don't want to drive to town. I just grabbed a jar of honey. Think about like World War II type mentality as far as meals. When they were on rations, couldn't get a hold of certain items were not available to that area. they had to adjust their recipes. Sugar was a big thing back then. So I thought, well, look, I can use the honey as a substitute. Think of substitutes you can use and put on your shelf if things are not available, even when you're trying to stock and buy, okay? Lastly, I keep things on my shelf. I've done pantry videos over and over. Guys, you need things like dried beans, regular staples, flour, cornmeal. We eat things with cornmeal like cornbread. If you don't, that's fine, but just staples on the shelf. And it does not hurt to have things like canned fruit, jerky, if you can't make your own, shelf-stable snacks, nuts, trail mix, things like that to keep it. It may not last a long time, but if you buy it once a month, once every couple months, eat on it, but you kind of keep it in your house, it's great. The canned fruit, I say, because a lot of times it'll last for years as far as its expiration date, or if you can eat at home, you've got years. But when the hurricane happened, I wanted something sweet so bad every night, and I couldn't get it. And you always want what you don't have. That I really don't even eat something sweet that much, but I wanted it during that hurricane because I knew I couldn't get it. So now I always have canned fruit. I've got jars and jars and jars of my own. I've had other canned fruit, applesauce, things like that is shelf stable, whether it's processed or homemade. Try to think of things like that you may want in any situation. Jams, jellies, something you spread on bread. Anything like that, just try to think of a variety. Don't just think dried beans. Think of a variety if something impacts our food supply. Okay, guys, that's just some tips I had this morning, and I just wanted to go over it with you. If you have anything else, just let me know in the comments. Guys, we got a lot coming out this week. Welcome to Homestead. We'll see you guys next time.